Okay, this is going to be a hopefully not that long video talking a little bit about a November challenge I just did, what I did, what I took away from it, what was involved with the challenge, really just outlining those things. I don't really know how to YouTube it that much, so I don't really know how to speak into a camera. It's a new thing for me. It kind of feels a bit like a Zoom interview, so if at any point I start talking about all the value I could bring to your organization, feel free to dislike it. I'll put on screen everything that was included with the challenge. I need to start looking at this lens more. First thing was that I wanted to try a keto diet. For anyone who doesn't know, a keto diet is short for ketogenic, referring to a higher fat and low to no carb intake. The reasons behind this were twofold. One, I wanted to get to a lower body fat percentage so that I can start a lean gaining phase in the start of December, which I've started already. Second was that anecdotally I've noticed having a lower carb intake or intaking smaller portions of carbs seems to aid my digestion a little bit, which is something I seem to suffer from. So shout out my mum's genetics. The second reason no, they are the two reasons. What the fuck are you talking about, you fat idiot? Second point was that because I only had a month to lose weight, I wanted to put myself on quite an aggressive fat loss program. So I thought I'll do shitloads of cardio at the same time and I'll run 5k every day. And I thought it would also make it kind of hard and not that enjoyable, which would be good for like mental toughness and building a bit of, I don't know, mental resilience. Shout out Jocko. Also, if I glance over here, it's just because I've got the stuff written up on my screen. The third was to continue my current weight training regime. I do about 5 days training on, 1 day off, varies depending on like tiredness and other factors. Roughly like 5 on, 1 off. So I didn't want that to stop. So the running was going to be supplementing that rather than replacing that. So I also didn't want to lose all my gains. Additionally, in line with the making it tougher and like unpleasant, I was also going to ban myself from artificial sweeteners, sugars and flavorings. I was also going to do no alcohol, which meant that I was kind of left with just water and coffee to drink. It wasn't specifically stipulated those are the only things you could drink for the challenge, but with no artificial sweeteners, no carbs, no alcohol, they're kind of the two things you can drink. And tea, I guess, but I don't like tea, so I wasn't going to drink that. Right, moving on to the impacts of the challenge or the effects or conclusion. Physical composition to start with. My starting weight was 176.8 pounds. I'll convert that to kilos and put it on screen somewhere. And the lowest I clocked as a weigh-in was 173.4 pounds. So if you're good at maths, you already know that's 3.4 pounds difference. That's between the highest and lowest of that month. I didn't weigh myself like every day, so it was, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, okay? I'll put on screen what I started at. This is a selfie I took in my home gym with some pretty decent lighting actually. And I had a bit of a pump on as well. I think I trained some sort of upper body, otherwise I can't see myself taking topless selfies if it was on a leg day. And I'll put next to that as well the final day. Well, it's technically not the final day, I've got to be honest. It's like the final day that was of the same conditions as the first pic was taken. So whatever I worked out on the first day, the first pic, I worked out on that same day and took the pic in the same lighting, having eaten the same amount of meals, so that the pictures were somewhat comparable, although I didn't wear the same hat. With the starting picture, I've got much better fullness. Like my arms look noticeably thicker in that than they do in the final picture of the challenge. I look noticeably leaner in the final picture. So there's kind of trade-offs with the carbs, seemingly. Those were the main physical changes. Noticeable like leanness, I guess, and 3.4 pounds of weight loss. In terms of performance, my runs at the start of the challenge were horrible. Honestly, the first week of the challenge was sick. I'm pretty sure if I ever get AIDS, I already know what it feels like because it was the first week. It was not fun, it was not enjoyable. Literally the only benefits to come from week 1 were the proposed or expected like mental toughness gains and like feeling the rewards of getting through it and pushing yourself to get through it. In the gym, I was fairly unfazed by the low carbs. I was a lot more motivated to work out than I was running, but that is just because I like working out more, or lifting weights more than I like running. And my strength wasn't really that affected by it. Overall, my energy levels for the first week were shit. I felt tired all the time. Like I felt sleep deprived, even though my sleep was it was fairly on point for week 1. I don't know what I was averaging. 6.5 hours sleep's like a normal night for me. So I was probably on that basically, which I tend to function fairly well from on a day-to-day basis anyway. So yeah, energy levels were poor. I was wanting to like nap in the middle of the day, which I just never do anyway, so that was a noticeable difference. Oh, I just saw something on Depop. Buy my shit. Energy levels were poor, runs were poor, workouts were not that good. That's paint under my nail, by the way. That's not like shit or mud or something. It's paint because I'm an artist. As the week went on, weeks 2 and 3, I started to really adjust to it. I kind of got used to having no carbs. Although I was having small servings of carbs in the form of little portions of fruit, basically, which I felt was acceptable. There are different variations or definitions as to what a keto diet is. Some of them will say you can have low-calorie fruits, which is what I was doing. I was typically having like berries or like watermelon, stuff with high water content and low like sugar content. One other thing that I would mention, and disclaimer if you're eating, in week 1 I had pretty gnarly like volcanic shits with like 30 to 40 seconds warning. That was just as a result of my body adjusting to having no carbs, I guess. I don't think my fiber intake was particularly different from what it would normally be. I've heard other people talking about going on carnivore diet or other keto diet variations, and they found that they had flamboyant toilet visits in week 1 or like week however long it took, but my body did adjust to it and I was back to a more sustainable toilet regime come week 2, which was a welcome bonus or a welcome return to form. By week 2 and 3 my energy levels were fine. I felt like I'd had normal night's sleep. That wasn't an issue at all anymore. The workouts in the gym were totally fine. I was continuing to increase my strength on my overloads. I think I actually hit a PR on bench. I did 100 for 4 sets of 6, which is a personal best at that weight for me, and it's more or less the strongest I've been since the start of the year when I was like smashing out like decent workouts. The runs got way quicker and way easier to get motivated for. I started averaging much better times. For reference, my personal best 5k I've ever done was this year, and it was 21 minutes and 34 seconds. And the runs I was doing were about 25 to 26 minutes during weeks 2 and 3, and they were about 28 minutes fastest in week 1. Like a good run was 28 minutes. Also, any cravings for sugary drinks or like sweet drink, I don't drink like full fat Coke, or not that it's got any fat in it normally, but like I don't drink non-diet juice. I just got it in my head that if I was thirsty it was water, if I was sleepy it was going to be sleep, or you can have a coffee. The cravings for any sort of juices or drinks subsided by week 2, like start of week 2 I was over them, which is good because I was slightly concerned I'd developed some sort of low-level addiction to energy drinks. I kind of got in a habit of pairing energy drinks with my workouts, and I think there would be like a, I don't know, I don't want to say I'm addicted to them, but like I think there was a definite association I'd formed between having to have a workout fueled by an energy drink or by a coffee. You don't have to have like pre-workout every workout, I don't think it's conducive. So it was good to nip that in the bud and prove that if I wanted to go cold turkey on Monsters, I can do that. As for the foods, I could see why people might say it's boring. For me, it was kind of cool because I got to eat stuff that I wouldn't normally eat. A normal diet for me would be higher carb intake, low fat, and then like proteins like medium to high. So I would normally stay away from meats that aren't that lean. This past like month, I've been eating loads of stuff that I would never normally eat. Prosciutto and pancetta and salami and loads of like high fat content meats, nuts, smashing handfuls of nuts in between meals because I kind of got scared I was going to go catabolic when the weight started dropping pretty quick in the first week or so. For a while, most of my meals were starting to just look like guacamole because it was just like a big mash of like veg and salad leaves, chicken and avocado. But we got that resolved, started doing more creative shit with it. Just to touch on the workouts a little bit again, this is based on no science, okay? I'm Popstar, not a doctor. So I have kind of got this theory that inside the first 5 to 7 years, and again, made up number in my head, I don't think it actually matters that much if you're in a caloric surplus for making hypertrophy or strength gains. And this is based on my own experience where I've been training weights for like 6 years now, and the amount of time I've spent in a caloric surplus must be an accumulated total of maybe 2.5 years. Maybe 3. Maybe 3 is probably closer. Let's just say it's 3 bulking, 1.5 years of cutting, and a year and a half of just maintaining and not focusing on gaining or losing weight at any point via conscious or unconscious methods. My strength has more or less ascended throughout the entirety of that 6 years. There have been dips due to injuries or motivation or inability to access strength training equipment like in lockdown, or just various other factors. I've been training for like 6 years and I'm still making gains, and my latest nights are my greatest nights. And you know what I mean? Not that I know anything about gym or that people should even ask me questions, but if you work out at the gym, people speak to you about working out because like they think it's your thing. So people like ask me like, oh, I've just said like 7 times there. People ask, I'm scared to go on a diet, or I'm scared to cut because I don't want to lose all my gains, or I don't want to lose my strength, or I still want to get my bench up, or I still want to do all this shit. I honestly think if you are not a legit bodybuilder, because in which case you are going into the fucking darkness of prep with like shit low calories, and you're gonna have a not fun time. And fair enough if your strength starts to decline in those circumstances. But if you're just a general person working out to try and look better and get in better shape, I honestly don't think it matters that much if you're not in a caloric surplus. That being said, it certainly optimizes training from both a hypertrophy and strength standpoint. So you should definitely look to do that if you can, but not everyone's trying to gain weight all the time. Okay, touching on the mental things, or like the mental changes noted during the month, I think it would be easy for me to sit here and say that I felt like sharper and my mind was more focused and I slept better and I was more in tune with my body. But I think people will naturally want to say that when they go on a new diet. Like they want to say all this cool shit like, oh, I just made my brain feel like it was like constantly focused and like I could just achieve more and I was like more productive. I think it did make some slight improvements to my mental, but I don't know how much I can really read into that. I think a lot of that will be placebo of me wanting to think all the stuff that I've just slated just there. But that being said, in the absence of a placebo, I think there were mental aspects that were beneficial. I think there is an argument to saying carbs, too much carbs or heavy, big portions of carbs can kind of slow you down and weigh you down almost. Like you do feel heavier, a little bit slower. I've also heard Jocko Willink, if you don't know who he is, go look him up. Again, shout out Jocko. He talks about being hungry, like literally hungry for your workouts, and how that can tie into primal instincts. And with the hunger in the workouts, you push your body to achieve more because you feel more in a state of danger and in a state of like where physical performance is necessitated in order to keep you alive. Which sounds intense, but I can see there being some truth to that. A month is not enough time to really form any scientific conclusions, but you could definitely argue that case, and I wouldn't tell you you're an idiot. Finally, on the mental note, the sense of accomplishment and like rewarding nature of completing challenge that for your level of mental toughness or whatever feels like a real challenge was nice. It was fucking good when I did the last run, 11:25, because I did my quickest run on the last night, and you know that like that is the last night. Tomorrow morning you can get up and you can have whatever food you want. You've done a month of hardcore diet training. So I would definitely recommend challenging yourself. Whether it's this one you do, it doesn't have to be this one. I literally made it up, so it might be a stupid challenge to do. You might think it's dumb. Not drinking booze for a month wasn't that difficult. Part of the reason it was in the challenge was just because I drank more in October than I probably had the 3 months prior to it. So I just wanted to maybe rein it back a bit. I don't drink alcohol that much, so that wasn't that hard. I can see why it maybe be hard for some people, but there's not a lot of options for going out and getting pissed anyway right now, so now might be a good time if you want to do a no booze challenge or do a dry January, because you'll probably be drinking in December. Don't do a challenge in December because it's Christmas and New Year. That being said, I think I've just about covered everything. I don't think I've got too much else to add. If you've got any questions, just comment them or Instagram DM me or something. YouTube outro time. Thanks for watching, guys. If you thought the video was shit, dislike it. And like it to respect Paul Walker. There's your options. Bye. If you didn't like the video, then dislike it. Cameron.
Okay.
Thank you, you legend. Where are you going?
No beef for a tree.
Okay, bye.
Bye.